We're now going to use some of those techniques, adding in a few new ones with some of the digital art supplies that you received as part of your digital art mega pack. And I'm also going to be using 3 photos from a recent camping trip last month. We're going to be combining those, of course, in Photoshop in order to recreate the layout that you can see on my screen. Before we go ahead and get started, I want to just take you into the layers panel. I want you to notice that I have organized the layers into 3 different groups, and I break down my process according to the foundation, the photos, and the embellishments. So you will notice that as we progress through this video. So if I go ahead and turn these off, you can see that these are what I consider the foundational layers. This is the artsy background onto which we are going to blend our photos. We then, of course, have the photos, which are combined with a variety of art pieces and, of course, tools in Photoshop. And then we have the embellishment layers, which add the fun into the creative process. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this layout. I will be coming back to it frequently throughout the remainder of this video. And I'm going to do that by clicking on this small minus sign in the top right-hand corner. This allows you to remove the layout from view, but have it at easy access if you want to revisit. You'll notice as I bring in new files into my workspace, it's likely to pop up back into view, but we can simply minimize it by clicking on that icon there. And we're going to start by creating a new layout. And to do this, we're going to go to File, New. And then you want to make sure that you have a width and height of your choosing. I like to work at 12 by 12 format. It could be that you like to work at 8.5 by 11 or perhaps 8 by 8. You're going to enter those values into the width and height. I also like to work in inches. It may be that you prefer centimeters. So go ahead and make those selections. The important part is that you have the resolution set to 300 pixels per inch. And this basically ensures that you have excellent print quality if you choose to print your pages and place them in an album or book. You'll notice that my color mode is set to RGB color and 8-bit. Once you have those values entered into this box, you can go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice that we have our new layout in view, and we also have that layout in the background. And you can go ahead and just cover up any files that you don't want to see, or you can also attach them. If you bring this into the tab area, then you can attach them together like that. The process for creating a new layout in Photoshop Elements is the same. The only difference is you're going to go to File, New, and then you're going to click on the blank file option. Step 1 of the creative process is to create an artsy layout foundation, and this can be done in 3 different ways. The easiest is to use an artsy paper, and these are found in the Art Play palette collections. So I'm going to go ahead and access my digital art supplies by clicking on File and then clicking on the Open option. And then you're going to want to navigate to the place where you have downloaded all of those digital art supplies in the mega pack that I've provided to you. These will be delivered in a zip file, and so if you're working in Windows, you're going to need WinZip to unzip those files. If you're working on a Mac, you can use a program like StuffIt. But you can see that all of the different products are included in their own folders, and I've provided you with ArtPlay Palette Heath. So if we go ahead and click on that, you can see you're going to be presented with 2 different folders. In the first folder, you're going to find the brush set, the elements, and the papery. And in the second folder, you're going to find the transfers and overlays. We are looking for the papery folder, and in here you're going to find at least 4 artsy papers and then also some solid papers. So the first way to create a layout foundation is to open up one of these artsy papers. And you can do that by selecting the paper, by clicking on it, and then selecting the open option at the bottom of your screen, or you simply can go ahead and double click that layer to bring that into your workspace. You'll notice that it attaches to the same tab. We can click, drag, and pull it out to release it. And then to move that paper onto our layout background, you're going to select the Move tool from the Tools panel. You're going to click down onto that paper, hold the left mouse button down, drag, and then release that left mouse button. And then you're going to repeat that action in order to snap that paper into place so that the edges are flush against the edges of your new layout. And then you can go ahead and close that file out by clicking on the X icon in the top right hand corner of the file. This provides an instant layout foundation onto which you can blend your photos and then add your embellishments. You may, however, prefer to create your own artsy foundation. And to do this, you're going to go to File, Open, and incidentally, that's the same process in Adobe Photoshop Elements. And instead of selecting an artsy paper this time, you're going to select a solid paper. So I'm going to go ahead with the same color for the time being. I'm going to double click. That's going to open into my workspace. With the Move tool selected, I'm going to click down with my left mouse button, drag and release, and then place that solid paper onto my new layout. Close out the original, and now we need to add some artsy transfers and overlays. So this time I'm going to go to File, Open, and navigate to the second folder of the ArtPlay palette, in which you're going to find the transfers and overlays. And you can see that this includes 12 different element files with a multicolor blended appearance. I want to select multiple files this time to open into my workspace. I want to select transfer number 5. I also want to select transfers number 1 and number 7. And to do this, you're going to hold down the Control key if you're working on a PC. That's the Command key on a Mac. And this is going to allow you to specifically select the different transfers that you want to open. So you can go ahead and select them just like that. When you have them selected, you're going to click on the Open tab, and then each one of those individual files is going to open into your workspace. You can click down, drag, and release to move those out of your layout area. So you can see that I am able to resize and move these files around by placing the cursor over the edge of the file. You can see we get this double-ended arrow, and then you can click down, drag, and then release in order to resize that. And then when you have those files open, it's simply a matter of moving them and placing them onto your canvas. So with the Move tool selected, you're going to click down, drag, and release, and then you're going to place that transfer onto your layout, and then go ahead and close down the image. You're going to do the same thing with the second transfer, and you can see I'm simply just dragging and dropping these onto my canvas, and then the same with this one here. So you can see we're able to just drag and drop and place them in a way so that we're able to create our own artsy background. You can, of course, resize any of these transfers. You can also rotate them as you choose and position accordingly. Remember that once you have made one of these modifications, you are going to need to accept that transformation by clicking on the check mark at the top of your screen in Photoshop or on the bounding box in Photoshop Elements. Go ahead and close out all remaining files. Creating an artsy layout foundation using a solid background paper and a variety of transfers and overlays is a great way to have a more customized approach to creating your backgrounds. Each of the transfer layers can be moved independently around the canvas to create a variety of different designs. And you'll notice that these are single layer files. They are delivered in PNG format, which allows you to have the transparency that we see in the background here, and we can build our own designs. There's one more way that you can create an artsy layout foundation, and this is using the Artsy Transfer, which is very similar to the Transfer and Overlay, except for it's delivered in PSD format, which allows for a multi-layer approach. So let's go ahead and navigate to the papery folder. We're going to bring in a different solid background paper. We're going to move that paper onto the background, and you want to make sure that it's at the top of your layer stack. So these are all of your layers, and in order to reorder those layers or to bring a layer to the top of the stack, you're going to select that layer in the Layers panel. You're going to click down with that left mouse button, drag, and then release it to the top of the stack. You can also release it between layers. Notice that when you see that double blue line indication, that's going to allow you to drop it between those two layers. So you can just move it up and down the palette as you choose. And then you're going to move that paper into position and then close out the original. And then you're going to navigate back to your digital art mega pack supplies. And you'll notice that I've included these Artsy Transfers Heath. And so these are the files that are delivered in PSD format. So you can see that I've provided a JPEG preview and then the PSD file, which is proprietary to Photoshop. If I go ahead and double click on that file and open it into my workspace, you can see it looks very similar to the transfer that we created for our artsy paper using the solid paper design. The difference being here is that all of these layers are independent of one another. So you can go ahead and you can turn off the visibility of the layers. You can of course rotate or resize any of those layers individually. You can recolor them. You can also modify them using brushes and a layer mask, for example. So again, this just increases the opportunity for you to maximize the customization to make these elements suit your preference and style. So I'm going to go ahead and turn back on the visibility of that layer, and I'm going to move this transfer onto our layout foundation. To do this, I'm going to select the first layer in the layer stack, hold down the Shift button on your keyboard, and then click on the last layer. And you'll notice that this selects all of the layers in between. And then with the Move tool selected, you want to make sure that you have that Auto Select option unchecked. Remember, this is located at the bottom of your screen if you're working in Adobe Photoshop Elements. And then it's going to be that same process of clicking down, holding down that left mouse button, dragging, and then releasing, and just moving this transfer into position. Go ahead and click OK. And so now you can see that we have another layout foundation. And again, here we can then go and turn off these layers individually to customize the appearance of that particular transfer. So 3 different ways that you can employ in creating your layout foundation. If we go back to our original layout, and notice that when I'm moving these files around, I'm using the tabs at the top of the screen in order to move those. So this is our original layout. Now if I turn off the embellishment and photo layers, you can see that I went with a different Artsy Transfer. I used the solid paper number 5, and then I used Artsy Transfer Heath number 3. And so you can see again, I have the same options. I'm able to turn on and off the visibility of the layers by clicking on this eye icon next to the layer in the Layers panel, and you can get some really neat effects. You can also add in transfers and overlays from the ArtPlay palette into this mix as well. So you're beginning to see the flexibility and really the options that you have by using these 3 different approaches.